restoration is not only present in art pieces, but is also synonymous with making art. In this video, we'll review STEAM connections in major art processes and practice finding these connections using the Perspectives Approach tool. In my thinking, art processes include making art, validating the authenticity of art, restoring art, and photographing art. Emphasizing how diverse disciplinary expertise and multiple perspectives come together in art processes can be the spark your students need to learn and remember content more deeply. Integrated STEAM learning is stronger than the sum of its parts, like a braided rope tying content to application in myriad ways. When you start to think about integrating art processes into your STEM content or STEM into your art instruction, ask yourself one or more of these brainstorming questions. How does this art process work? What technologies allow this art process to work, and when were they discovered? What do I need to know and use in order to be able to make something like this? These questions are also available on your handout. Let's dig into some art processes that I feel are particularly rich with STEM connections. If you feel I've left something out, please forgive me. You should feel free to add to the following list and invite conversation with your art or STEM colleagues to learn more. In our last video on art pieces, we began with Calder's stabiles and mobiles. This video will layer on a processes approach, thinking about how STEM and art work together to make these sculptures. I could expand the discussion here to include how the large-scale sculptures were made. In the next set of slides, we'll look through STEAM connections in low-tech and industrial art processes, art restoration, ceramics and pottery, painting and pigments, printmaking, and photography and filmmaking. While some of these techniques may not be available to you at your schools, investigating the processes involved in making any art piece may help to allow your students to feel like art is more tangible to them. I've categorized some art processes that do not involve electricity as low tech, including metal and glass work in forges, plaster and form making, building on armatures, carving, sizing a canvas, and stamping. From simple machines in the carving wedge to the contraction of lipids and rabbit skin glue, science is what makes these low-tech art processes work, and the use of that science is itself a technology. Industrial art processes use optimized technologies to do specialized feats of science. In welding, steel must be heated to extreme temperatures before it can be bent or cut or welded. Metal's unique characteristics allow it to melt and cool readily enough to do this, a great lesson on how metals and metalloids differ from other elements. The gases used in oxygen acetylene welding torches are significant too, as is the mixture with which they are combined. Learning about the conservation of energy during combustion are great connections here. Art forgery, art smuggling, hidden art discovery, and even bad art restoration are super engaging topics. From the elasticity of bread to chemical solvents to X-ray imaging, the science of art restoration and authentication can bring your students into the world of art while motivating them to invest in understanding the science that allows career art experts and scientists to work together. Ceramics and pottery are just a wonderful demonstration of uniform circular motion, and anyone that's thrown wet clay on a wheel that's spinning too fast has learned a lesson in inertia. If you're wondering why I didn't say the fictitious centrifugal force, then you should check in with your physical science teachers. Another hot connection to STEM is that archaeologists and geologists can use magnetic domain orientations found in clay in ancient undisturbed furnaces to help fill in the story about the history of the Earth's changing magnetic field. There are a lot of connections to make between pigments and biology and paint making and chemistry. The history of pigmentation is a story of our understanding of chemical stability, availability, synthesis, and health. My friend Allison McMahon created a beautiful unit about stoichiometry and solutions related to paint and pigments. Students learn about making binders and paint through chemical reactions and solutions. Allison has graciously shared this unit with all teachers, and it is linked on your handout. I'll admit that when it comes to printmaking, I'm by no means an expert, but I know the process involves creating negative space on a plane for the selective transfer of pigment. That simple inverse relationship intrigues me as a mathematical metaphor. but so does the science of metal corrosion to make the printing plates, the pressures of the printing press, the photo exposure of silk screening emulsion, and biological risks to printmaking artists. Digital and film photography and filmmaking are showstoppers for STEAM integration. Students feel bonded to taking pictures in deep and emotional ways. If there's one art process out there that your students care about, it's how to take pictures in movies. Take advantage, get nerdy with the process, and see what happens. You might well need the help of your colleagues to get a firm grasp on all of it too. Teacher Jordan Pasqualin scaffolds movie making with a narrative building storyboard activity on Atomic Motion. Storyboards are a great first step in thinking about all kinds of time-based artwork. Plus, drawing and describing allows students with narrative or illustrative strengths to flex their skills in science class. You can generate STEAM connections for other art processes by using the Perspectives Approach tool. To turn it into a STEAM lesson, consider asking students to change one variable in the process in increments and measure the outcome on the art product. Gathering data on the outcomes and comparing that data to independent variable levels you used will help to make predictions for future art experiences. And that's a successful science experiment. Or you can have students debate and defend an argument using the tool. For instance, to encourage a debate about restoration, I would center the news story about this Spanish restoration and ask students to consider how each of the surrounding perspectives played into the choices and consequences of the restoration. I might ask, what processes were used and why? How does the historical lens shape the modern local reaction? What would they recommend future restoration efforts consider and why? This interdisciplinary investigation will help grow students' critical thinking skills as well as their empathy. Not to mention, your students may need to expand their artistic vocabulary to discuss the subject. Thank you for being here and for watching this video about some of my go-to favorite STEAM-rich art processes. If you need further inspiration, make sure you talk to your colleagues in art or STEM. They'll be happy to share their expertise with you.